Hello friends, from this lecture we will start with our unit number 3 of machine learning, that is the clustering. And in this lecture we will cover the three dimensionality reduction techniques. That is the first one, principal component analysis. It is also called as an PCA algorithm. Then the second one is the factor analysis, and third one is the multidimensional scaling. Now the learning outcomes. Now, in this lecture, we will cover the first dimensionality reduction technique, that is the principal component analysis. Now, in this topic, we will cover first what is principal component analysis, that is what is PCA, then the algorithm of PCA, then the some common terms which we are going to use in PCA algorithm, then which are the different principal components in the principal component analysis, then which are the different steps of the PCA, and which are the different applications of principal component analysis. Then the second part of our lecture is the factor analysis, means the second technique of our dimensionality reduction is the factor analysis. And in this topic we will cover what is factor analysis, then which are the different types of factor analysis, then how factor analysis works, then which are the different terminologies which we are going to use in factor analysis, and what is the comparison between our factor analysis and principal component analysis. Then the third dimensionality reduction techniques which we are going to see, that is the multidimensional scaling. In this topic we will cover first what is multidimensional scaling, then which are the different types of multidimensional scaling, then which are the different basic steps in the multidimensional scaling, then what is the comparison between multidimensional scaling and principal component analysis, that is MDS versus PCA. Similarly, what is the comparison between the multidimensional scaling and the factor analysis, that is MDS versus FA. Now let's start with the first dimensionality reduction technique, that is the principal component analysis. Now the principal component analysis is an unsupervised learning algorithm that is used for the dimensionality reduction in the machine learning. Then it is a statistical process that converts the observations of correlated features into a set of linearly uncorrelated features with the help of orthogonal transformation. And these new transform features are called as an principal components. Now it is the one of the popular tools that is used for the exploratory data analysis and predictive modeling. And it is a technique to draw the strong pattern from the given data set by reducing the variance. Now reducing the variance is nothing but for the dimensionality reduction. Now PCA, that is the principal component analysis, generally tries to find the lower dimensional surface to project the high dimensional data. And some real world application of principal component analysis are image processing. Then we can use our PCA in movie recommendation system. Then for optimizing the power allocation in various communication channel, we can use the dimensionality reduction technique, that is the principal component analysis. So these are the various applications of principal component analysis, means image processing, then movie recommendation system, or optimizing the power allocation in the various communication channels. The PCA algorithm is based on the some mathematical concepts such as first one is the variance and covariance, and second one is the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Now some common terms which we are going to use in the PCA algorithms are, first is the dimensionality. Now what is dimensionality? It is a number of features or variables present in the given data set, and more easily it is the number of columns present in the data set. It is nothing but what? The dimensionality. Now the second term which we are going to use in PCA algorithm is the correlation. Now what is correlation? It signifies that how strongly two variables are related to each other, such as if one changes, the other variable will also get changed. And the correlation values ranges from -1 to +1. Now, where -1 occurs if variables are inversely proportional to each other. Similarly, +1 indicates that the variables are directly proportional to each other. Then the third term which we are going to use in the PCA algorithm is the orthogonal. Now what is orthogonal? Now orthogonal is basically defined as the variables are not correlated with each other, and hence the correlation between the pairs of variables is zero. Then the third term, that is the eigenvector. Now what is eigenvector? Now if there is a square matrix that is M and a non-zero vector that is V, then V will be the eigenvector if AV is the scalar multiple of V. This is nothing but what? The eigenvector. And the last term which we are going to use in PCA algorithm is the covariance matrix. Now what is covariance matrix? A covariance matrix is a matrix which contains the covariance between the pairs of variables called as an covariance matrix. So these are the basic terms which we are going to use in the PCA algorithms. Now these basic terms are fully related with the mathematical concepts, that is the variance, covariance, eigenvalues, eigenvectors or eigenfactors. Now let's see the principal components in principal component analysis. Now the principal component must be the linear combination of the original features. Then these components should be orthogonal, that is the correlation between a pair of variables should be zero. And the importance of each component decreases when going to 1 to n. It means the one PC has the most importance and the nth PC will have the least importance. Means it should decreases when it going from 1 to n. So these are the basic principles, principal components in the principal component analysis. Now let's see the different steps for the PCA algorithm. Now the first step is the getting the data set. Now firstly, we need to take the input data sets and divide it into the two subparts, that is X and Y, where X is the training set and Y is the validation set. Then the second step is the representing the data into a structure. Now, in this step, we will represent our data set into a structure, such as we will represent the two-dimensional matrix of independent variables X. Now here, each row corresponds to the data items and the columns corresponds to the features, and the number of columns is the dimensions of the data set. Now the third step is the standardizing the data. Now in this step, we will standardize our data set such as the particular column, the features with the high variance are more important as compared to the features with the low variance. And if the importance of features is independent of the variance of the feature, then we will divide each data item in a column with the standard deviation of the column. Now here we will name this matrix as an Z, where X is our training data set, then Y is our validation set and Z is our matrix. Now the fourth step in the PCA algorithm is the calculating the covariance of the Z, means the covariance of the matrix. Now to calculate the covariance of Z or the covariance of matrix, we will take the matrix Z and we will transpose it. And after transpose, we will multiply it by Z and the output matrix will be the covariance matrix of the Z. Means in this step, we have to just take the transpose of the matrix Z. Then we will get the covariance of the Z. Then the next step is the calculating the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors. Now in this step, we will need to calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of the resultant covariance matrix Z. Now the eigenvectors or the covariance matrix are the directions of the axis with the high information, and the coefficients of these eigenvectors are defined as the eigenvalues. Then the next step is the sorting the eigenvectors. Now in this step, we will take all eigenvalues and we will sort them with the decreasing order, which means from the largest to smallest, and simultaneously sort the eigenvectors according to the matrix P of eigenvalues, and the resultant matrix will be named as P star, that is the eigenvalues of P. Then the next step is the calculating the new features or the principal components. Now here we will calculate the new features, and to do this we will multiply the matrix P star to the matrix Z, and the resultant matrix Z star, each observations is the linear combination of original features, and each column of Z star matrix is independent of each other. And the last step of the PCA algorithm is remove less or unimportant features from the new data set. Now the new feature set has occurred, so we will decide here what to keep and what to remove. It means we will only keep the relevant or important features in the new data set, and the unimportant features will be removed out. So these are the various steps which we are going to use in the principal component analysis algorithm. Now, which are the different applications of principal component analysis? Now, principal component analysis or PCA is mainly used as the dimensionality reduction technique in various artificial intelligence applications such as computer vision, then image compression, etc. Then it can also be used for finding the hidden patterns if data has high dimensions. Some fields where principal component analysis is used are the finance, then data mining or psychology, etc. So these are the various applications of principal component analysis. Now let's see the next dimensionality reduction technique, that is the factor analysis. Now what is factor analysis? Now factor analysis is a linear statistical model. Then it is used to explain the variance among the observed variables and the condense a data set of the observed variable into the unobserved variable called as an factors. And the observed variables are modeled as a linear combination of factors and the error terms. And the factor or the latent variable is associated with the multiple observed variables who have a common patterns or responses. And each factor explains a particular amount of variance in the observed variable, and it helps in the data interpretation by reducing the number of variables. Now let's see one example of our factor analysis. Suppose we have observed variables, that is the waiting time, then the cleanliness and the staff behavior. Suppose we have three observed variables, that is first one is the waiting time, then the second one is the cleanliness, and third one is the staff behavior. Now we are going to map or find the factors among these three observed variables, that is the waiting time, cleanliness and the staff behavior. Now if we see, the common factor from these three observed variables is the cleanliness. So cleanliness is the factors for these observed variables. Similarly, if we will take the another example, suppose we have again three observed variables, that is the first one is the taste of food, then the food temperature and the freshness of food. So which is the common factor among these three observed variables, that is the from taste of food, then the food temperature, then the freshness of food. Means all these three observed variables are related to food. So the factor among these three observed variables is the food quality, because the taste of food is again related with the food quality. Then the food temperature is again related with the food quality. Then the freshness of the food is again related with the food quality. Means among these three observed variables, that is from taste of food or food temperature or freshness of food, the common factor is the food quality. So this is how the factor analysis works. Now let's see which are the different types of factor analysis. Now factor analysis is basically divided into four types, out of which the first type is the exploratory factor analysis or EFA. Now what is EFA? It is used to identify the composite interrelationships among the items and the group items that are the part of uniting concepts, and the analyst can't make any prior assumptions about the relationships among the factors. And it is also used to find the fundamental structure of huge set of variable, and it lessens the large data to much smaller set summary variables. And it is almost similar to the another type of factor analysis, that is the confirmatory factor analysis or CFA. Now which are the different similarities between EFA and other types of factor analysis? Now it evaluates the internal reliability of amount, then it examines the factors represented by item sets, and they presume that the factors are not correlated, then investigate the grade or class of each item. So these are the various similarities between the EFA and the other types of factor analysis. But there are some differences also, and most of them are concerned about how the factors are used. Basically, EFA is a data-driven approach which allows all items to load on all the factors. While the another type of factor analysis, that is the confirmatory factor analysis or CFA, you need to specify which factors are required to be loaded. And EFA is really a nice choice if you have no idea about a common factor might exist, and EFA is able to generate a huge number of possible models for your data, something which is not possible and if a researcher has to specify the factors. And if you have a bit idea about what actually the models looks like, and then afterwards you want to test the hypothesis about the data structure, in that case confirmatory factor analysis is the better approach. Then the second type of our factor analysis is the confirmatory factor analysis or CFA. Now confirmatory factor analysis, it is a more complex approach that tests the theory that the items are associated with the specific factors. And the confirmatory factor analysis uses a properly structured equation model to test the measurement model, whereby loading on the factors allow for the evaluation of the relationship between the observed variable and the unobserved variable. As we know, the structural equation modeling approaches can board measurement error easily, and these are much less restrictive than the least square estimation. So this provides more exposure to accommodate the errors. Hypothesized models are tested against the actual data, and the analysis would demonstrate the loading of observed variables on the latent variable or the factor, as well as the correlation between the latent variable. Now, the confirmatory factor analysis allows an analyst or researcher to figure out if a relationship between the set of observed variable and their underlying construct exists, and it is similar to the exploratory factor analysis or EFA. And the main differences between the EFA and CFA are: first, It is simply use the EFA factor analysis to explore the patterns and use the confirmatory factor analysis to perform the hypothesis testing. And confirmatory factor analysis provides the information about the standard quality of the number of factors that are required to represent the dataset. And using the confirmatory factor analysis, you can define the total number of factors which are required. So this is the second type of our factor analysis. Then the third type of factor analysis is the multiple factor analysis or MFA. Now, this type of factor analysis is used when your variables are structured in changeable groups. For example, you may have tinges of health questionnaires with the several points like sleeping pattern or wrong addictions or psychological health or mobile phone addiction or the learning disabilities. Then the multiple factor analysis performed in two steps, which are the first step is the principal component analysis will perform on each and every section of the data. Further, this can give a useful eigenvalue which is actually used to normalize the data set or further use. And the second, the newly formed data set are going to merge into distinctive matrix and then global principal component analysis is performed. And the last type of our factor analysis is the generalized produced analysis, that is GPA. Now the GPA analysis is actually a suggested way to compare then the two approximate set of configurations and shapes which are originally developed to equivalent to the two solutions from the factor analysis, and this technique was actually used to extend the GP analysis so that the more than two shapes could be compared in many ways, and these shapes are properly aligned to achieve the target shape. Mainly GPA uses the geometric transformation such as the isotropic rescaling, then the reflection, then the rotation, then the translation of matrices to compare the sets of the data. So these are the various types of the factor analysis, that is EFA, CFA, MFA and GPA. Now, how does the factor analysis works? The primary objective of factor analysis is to reduce the number of observed variables and find the unobservable variables. These unobserved variables help the market researcher to conclude the survey. And this conversion of the observed variables to unobserved variables can be achieved in two steps. That is, the first one is the factor extraction. Now, in this step, the number of factors and approach for the extraction selected using the variance partitioning methods such as principal component analysis and the common factor analysis. And second one is the factor rotation. In this step, rotation tries to convert the factors into the uncorrelated factors, and the main goal of this step is to improve the overall interpretability. And there are lots of rotation methods that are available, such as Varimax rotation method, then Quatrimax rotation method, and the Promax rotation method. Now the different factor analysis terminologies. First, what is factor? A factor is the latent variable which describes the association among the number of observed variables, and the maximum number of factors are equal to the number of observed variables, and every factor explains a certain variance in observed variables, and the factors with the lowest amount of variance where dropped factors are known as the latent variables or hidden variables or the unobserved variables, or it is also called as a hypothetical variable. Then second, what are the factor loadings? Now the factor loading is a matrix which shows the relationship of each variable to the underlying factor, and it shows the correlation coefficient for the observed variable and factor, and it shows the variance explained by the observed variables. Then third, what is eigenvalues? Now eigenvalues represent the variance explained in each factor from the total variance, and it is also called as characteristics roots. Then what is communalities? Now the communalities are the sum of the squared loading for each variable. It represents the common variance and it ranges from 0 to 1, and the value close to 1 represents the more variance. Then what is factor rotation? Now a rotation is a tool for better interpretation of factor analysis. Rotation can be orthogonal or oblique, and it is redistributed the communalities with the clear pattern of the loadings. Then the choosing the number of factors. Now Kaiser criteria is the analytical approach which is based on the more significant proportion of variance explained by factor will be selected, and the eigenvalue is a good criteria for the determining the number of factors. Generally, the eigenvalue greater than 1 will be considered as the selection criteria for the feature, and the graphical approach is based on the visual representation of factors eigenvalues, also called as an screen plot, and this screen plot helps us to determine the number of factors where the curve makes an elbow. So these are the various terminologies in the factor analysis. Now let's see the comparison between the factor analysis and the principal component analysis. Now principal component analysis components explains the maximum amount of variance, while the factor analysis explain the variance in the covariance in the data. Then the principal component analysis components are fully orthogonal to each other, whereas the factor analysis does not require factors to be orthogonal. Then the PCA component is a linear combination of observed variable, while in factor analysis, the observed variables are linear combinations of the unobserved variable or factor. Then PCA components are uninterpretable, and in factor analysis, underlying factors are labeled and interpretable. PCA is a kind of dimensionality reduction method, whereas the factor analysis is the latent variable method. Then PCA is a type of factor analysis where the PCA is observational whereas the factor analysis is a modeling technique. Now let's see the third part of our lecture, that is the multidimensional scaling. Now the multidimensional scaling or MDS is the multivariate data analysis approach that is used to visualize the similarity or dissimilarity between the samples by plotting points in the two-dimensional plots. MDS returns an optimal solution to represent the data in the lower dimensional space, where the number of dimensions, that is k, is pre-specified by the analyst. An MDS algorithm takes an input data, the dissimilarity matrix, representing the distance between the pairs of the objects, and the input data for MDS is the dissimilarity matrix representing the distance between the pairs of objects. Now, which are the types of MDS algorithm? Now, MDS algorithm is basically divided into two types, out of which the first is the classical multidimensional scaling. Now, the classical multidimensional scaling preserves the original distance matrix between points as well as possibles, and that is the fitted distances of the MDS map, and the original distances are in the same metric. Now, classic MDS belongs to so-called metric multidimensional scaling category, It is also known as the principal coordinate analysis, and it is suitable for the quantitative data. And the second type is the non-metric multidimensional scaling. It is also called as an ordinal MDS, and here it is not a metric of the distance value that is important or the meaningful, but its value in relation to the distance between the other pairs of the objects. An ordinal MDS constructs the fitted distance that are in the same rank order as the original distance. Now, which are the different basic steps of the MDS algorithm? Now, the first step is the assign a number of points to coordinates in n-dimensional space. Now, n-dimensional space could be two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or high space. And the orientation of the coordinate axis is arbitrary and mostly the researcher's choice. Then the second step is to calculate the Euclidean distance for all pairs of points. The Euclidean distance is a set of files straight line distance between the 2 points, that is x and y, in Euclidean space, and it is calculated by using the Pythagoras theorem, that is c square, which is equals to a square plus b square, although it becomes somewhat more complicated for the n-dimensional space, and this results in the similarity matrix. Then the third step is to compare the similarity matrix with the original input matrix by evaluating the stress function. Now the stress is the goodness of fit measures based on the differences between the predicted and the actual distances. And the last step is the adjust coordinates if necessary to minimize the stress. Now let's see the comparison between the multidimensional scaling and the principal component analysis. Now mathematically and conceptually, there are close correspondence between the MDS and other methods used to reduce the dimensionality of the complex data, such as principal component analysis and the factor analysis. Now principal component analysis is more focused on the dimensions themselves and seek to maximize the explained variance, whereas the multidimensional scaling is more focused on the relations among the scaled objects. And the MDS projects n-dimensional data points to a commonly two-dimensional space such that the similar objects in the n-dimensional space will be close together on the two-dimensional plot, while principal component analysis projects a multi-dimensional space to the direction of maximize variability using the covariance and correlation matrix to analyze the correlation between the data points and the variables. Now let's compare the multi-dimensional scaling with the factor analysis. Now, both multidimensional scaling and factor analysis uncover hidden patterns or the relationships in the data. Both technique requires a matrix of measures associations. However, while in factor analysis requires the metric data, while multidimensional scaling can handle metric as well as non-metric data. And the MDS, that is multidimensional scaling, is more useful than factor analysis if you are able to create the two-dimensional map, as you will be able to visually confirm your findings. So this is the comparison between the multidimensional scaling and the factor analysis. Thank you.